Hello, yeah, welcome to day 18 of the SewWithTia 30-day sewing challenge. Thank you so much for your like, share, and comment in my previous videos. In today's tutorial, we're going to be learning how to sew this wide leg palazzo pants that has a drawstring elastic waistband. So if this is what you would like to watch, do well to stay to the end. So here are the materials I'm going to be using. I made use of this crepe, patterned crepe fabric of medium texture. You're also going to be needing some elastic for the waistband. So to get started, for this particular tutorial, I made use of just one trouser length, which was perfect for my size. So to know by what you are going to be folding by, divide your hip round measurement by 4. Whatever you have, add at least 3 to 4 inches as extra. So I went ahead to divide mine and I added 3 inches, which makes it 13. So for the purpose of this tutorial, the length I'm going to be working with is 41 inches. Okay, now this is a high waist pants, like high waist. You can see where it started from on my body. So because I want 41 inches, I'm going to be making the band like 2 inches. So I will end up marking 39 inches as my full length. Then I'll be adding 2 inches. Now this 2 inches I'm adding is going to be for my folding allowance at the lower part and the joining allowance at the upper part. So I'm just going to go ahead to mark that point. After doing that, the next thing I'm going to do now is to impute my hip round measurement plus 0.5 inches. Now I'm going to impute my hip round measurement plus 0.5 inches. And after that, I'm going to be imputing my crotch depth. My crotch depth usually should be 10.5 inches. But because, like I told you, this is a high-waisted pant, I'm not going to be removing anything. I'm just going to mark that 10.5 inches like so. So I'm going to go ahead to draw a horizontal line on my hip line, as you can see. And the next line is going to be for my crotch depth. So it means when I add the 2 inches, that is going to be for the waistband, my crotch depth will end up being 12.5 because this is a high-waisted pant. I hope you get the explanation. So after doing that now, I'm going to measure from this crotch depth line to my full length. And whatever measurement I have there, I'm going to divide this measurement into 2. Now, the measurement you are going to have is going to be your nail point. So in case you don't measure your knee point, you don't need to stress over that. Just go ahead to measure from your crotch depth line to your full length line, then divide it by 2. That is going to be where you have your knee point. Okay, so after doing that now, on the hip line, crotch line measurement, and the start line, I'm going to go ahead to divide my hip round measurement by 4. Mine is 9.5. I added 0.5 for inch for ease, making 10 inches. And I'm going to start from that folded end on the crotch line. I'll mark the 10 inches. I'm going to repeat same on the hip line, as you can see. And I'm going to go over to the waistline and I'm going to repeat same. Now, because this is a free pant, we're not going to be shaping the waist. So I'm just going to connect these 3 points together using a straight line like so. Now, after doing that, the next thing we want to determine is our crouch extension. And to do this, all you need to do is to, okay, your hip round measurement, okay, divided by 16 is going to give you your crouch extension for your front pattern. So I have mine to be 2.375 and I've just gone ahead to mark that. Now I'm going to find the midpoint of the straight line, as you can see. And from that point, I'm going to use that point to create a curve with my pattern master to meet the crouch extension. In case you don't have a pattern master like I do, just go out from that crouch angle by 1.25 inches. This would help you have a perfect curve rather. So after going ahead to make my curve, the next thing we are going to work on now is the shaping of these pant legs. And to do that, you're going to be needing your nipple to nipple measurement, which is your bust point. So you're going to need that measurement divided by 2. In my case, it is 4 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead to mark that 4 inches point on the crouch line, as you can see from that straight line. And I'm going to connect this point with a straight line. Now, that point is what I'm going to take down to the knee point, as you can see me do. I'm taking this down to the knee point, as you can see, and from that knee point, I'm going to take it down to the full length. Please ensure your line is straight so that your pants will be straight. You can make use of a long ruler instead of using a short ruler like mine. So after doing this, we're going to be shaping this pants based on this that point now. So because this is a wide leg pant, I don't need to have any measurement for my nail. I'm just going to go to my ankle and I'm going to determine how wide I want my ankle to be. So in this case, I want mine to be 22 inches. Now this 22 inches, we're going to be dividing by 4. Whatever you have is what you are going to mark, starting from this center line, like this center line, this dot line. So mine is 5.5. I just went ahead to mark that on both sides. So after doing this now, we're almost done with the front pattern. All we need to do now is to connect from that ankle point on the hemline to the crouch extension. And I'm going to be using my long ruler to do so. So you can see I went ahead to fix it on that point, and I'm just going to go ahead to mark this point. Then I'm going to go to the other side, and from the other ankle point to, I'm going to connect this to my crouch point, my crouch line rather. Now remember, this is a wide leg pant. If this is not a wide leg pant, then we would have gone ahead to impute our knee measurement, but for this we don't need it. So after doing this, now I'm going to go ahead to cut. I'm going to go ahead to cut, and if you notice, I'm not adding any sewing allowance on this lower part. But once I get towards the crouch curve, I'm going to go ahead to add 0.5 inches on that point, as you can see. Then I'm also going to trim out the excess I have on the side of this pants. And when I got to the crouch line, from that point, I just straighten out what I have. So I went ahead to pin this down, and this is what my front pattern is looking like. I went ahead to cut the excess I have on the lower part too. So this is what the front pattern look like. I'm going to go ahead to fold the back pattern, and to the back pattern, I'm going to be adding at least 3 extra inches in front after placing my front pattern on it. So this is my back pattern now. For the side is going to be straight. So, but you need to have extension on the front. And on the upper part too, you need to have at least 2 to 3 inches on that upper part because we are going to be increasing the length. So now for the crotch extension, I'm going to be dividing by 20. My hip round measurement divided by 20, and whatever I have, I'm going to go ahead to impute that there. In my case, I had 1.9 inches. I'm just going to go ahead to impute that over there. Also, I came down by 0.5 inches on that crotch line, and that is where I'm going to be imputing my back crotch extension. Now for the upper part, I'm going to go ahead to impute that same 1.9 inches on the upper part, as you can see. Then I'm going to use a slant line to connect this to the front waist point, as you can see. Now, after doing that, I'm going to be going out on that crouch front for the front. I'm going to be going out by 2 inches. I'm going to go out by 2 inches from my center back now. And from that point, I'm going to connect it initially with a straight line. Then I'm going to just use my hand to create the curve to meet the crotch extension on the back pattern. So this is what this looks like. I'm going to go ahead on the side of the leg. I'm going to go ahead to add 2 inches, okay, on the back pattern. And this is because all the allowances that you need for your sewing and the rest has been added to this back pattern. And that is why I say you don't need to add any allowance to the front pattern except for the crouch region. So this is what the back look like. I'm just going to go ahead to cut this out. Then we go ahead to sew. So I'm cutting exactly on the line, and I did not bother to add any 0.5 inches on the back crouch region because I already added 2 inches. Then for the side is same. So I'm just going to go ahead now to sew the crouch area for the front and for the back pattern, and I'm going to show you what that looks like and the next thing we are going to be doing. So I'm going to be sewing this down by 0.5 inches off camera. So I've gone ahead to sew this down. As you can see I've gone ahead to sew this. I'm going to be placing the right side of the back and the right side of the front facing each other so that I have the wrong side, as you can see. Then I'm going to pick both sides together, as you can see. So I'm going to pick both sides together and I'm going to be joining it at the side using 0.5 inches. Then I'm going to connect this at the leg also. So now this is what the pants look like after connecting it by the side. So you can see that the back looks bigger than the front. This is how your pant should look. So it looks like your front pattern has been sandwiched in between the back, both at the leg, at the side, and this is exactly how your pant should be. Now the next thing we're going to do now, we're moving to the waistband, is to measure around our waist circumference. Remember that this is like a free pant, so you are going to take your time to measure this. I suggest you measure this at least twice so that you will have an accurate measurement. So I am working with 45.5 inches. That is what I have for my circumference. I'm just going to go ahead to cut 46 inches, a long strip, that is for the length, and for the width, I went ahead to cut 4.5 inches. So now, because when we fold this at the end of the day, I want to be left with 2 inches after joining to my pants. Now I'm going to go ahead to join this by the side like so. As you can see, I've gone ahead to do that using my 0.5 inch allowance that I add to it. Now I'm going to go ahead to fold this into 2 equal half, as you can see me do. And if you have your iron available with you, you can go ahead to press this. Now, I need you to pay attention to the next few things I'm going to be saying. Now, I'm going to be making use of this elastic, which is less than 0.5 inches. Okay, it is less than 0.5 inches. So on this waistband now, I want to create a casing that is going to be 0.5 inches, and I'm going to be creating this casing 3 times. So that's the first 0.5 inch I marked the second one, that 0.5 inch again, and I marked a third one, that is 0.5 inches. So I'm going to be making this line. I'm going to be marking this line straight. Take your time to mark the line because we are going to be sewing this round. Also, this point I mark, I'm going to be leaving at least 2 inches in between that I will not sew, and this 2 inches is where we're going to use to pass our safety, our pin that has the elastic. So I'm going to go ahead to sew this down. Take your time to mark this, and I'm going to leave that point open where I would not sew. Also, you need to mark your center front and your center back because we are going to be adding a drawstring to this. So my center back is where I have the joining, and my center front has been marked, which is different from the part I'm going to leave open. So this is my center front I went ahead to mark. As you can see, I'm going to sew on that center front, but I'm going to explain what I will do to that point later. I also went ahead to trim the edges I have that were not equal. So I'm going to move to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew that. Now, as you can see I have three lines. I've gone ahead to sew this point, and you can see I did not sew on this particular point. You can see my pin can go through that point easily. Yes, I just back stitch when I got to that point on the three lines. Okay, and that is my center front over there. We're going to be creating a casing for an opening for the drawstring later. So for my elastic, I made use of 22 inches and I'm working with a waist measurement of 29 inches. After which I went ahead to cut a second one. You need two elastic for this, and you also need a drawstring. For the drawstring, you just need to cut about 1.5 inches, then fold it to ensure that you have 0.5 inches. And you can make this long as you want. For me, I had almost 16 inches. And what you're going to do, you're going to go ahead to knot one side properly, because we're going to be inserting this also in our waistband. So we're going to go ahead with the elastic now using a safety pin. I'm going to go through that opening I made. I told you you're going to leave an opening on the three lines that you will not close at all. And I'm going to the first layer. So you're going to go ahead to put in your elastic. As you can see, ensure you're holding this elastic with your other hand so that you don't do a double work. So go ahead to fix this in. Take your time to do it until you come back to that point that has the open end. When you are there, just go ahead to knot your elastic, or you can stitch this down. In my case, I decided to stitch mine down. So go ahead to stitch this down. I'm going to stitch this down, as you can see. And after stitching this down, I just went ahead to trim the excess. Then I'm going to be pulling this in. So that is what I have for the first layer. Now, this second elastic is for the last layer, which is the third layer. Remember, the middle layer is still there. So on this last layer, I'm also going to go through in that opening. As you can see, on that opening, I'm going to go ahead to insert it just like the first layer. So I have my first and third layer of elastic inward. The next thing I'm going to do now is to go ahead to fix my drawstring. And before doing that, I went ahead to stitch down that opening I made for the elastic entry point. So now to fix my drawstring, I'm going to go to my center front, as you can see. Then we're going to be cutting through the first layer. Please, you have to be careful at this point so that you don't cut the two layers together. Remember that this is on fold. So we're just going to cut the first layer on two places so that your drawstring, your rope can go through it and come out on the other side. So take your time to do this gently. So I just went ahead to make two holes. I hope you can see this clearly. And from these two holes now, I'm going to go ahead with my drawstring. I'm going to insert this using a safety pin, just like the way I inserted the elastic. I'm just going to take my time to do this. And when you're done inserting your drawstring, you go ahead to knot the other end. Now, the difference between this and the elastic is that this drawstring, this rope is not going to be inward. It's going to come outward, okay? It's not going to be inward like the elastic that is inward. So I've already come out on the other side, as you can see. And this time around, you see that the rope is outward. So I'm just making use of my hand to ensure that everything is well placed and well positioned. So after doing that, I'm going to go ahead to knot the other side like so. And the next thing we're going to do now is to go ahead to fix this on our palazzo pants. Now to fix this, you have to go back to that mark you made on your center back and your center front. This is very important. So go ahead to look for the mark you made on your center back. This is where I have the joining is my center back. And I'm going to go ahead, to face the side that does not have the drawstring coming outward on my center back of my pants like so, and the front. So I'm going to go ahead to pin this down, and I'm going to also go ahead to pin the sides together. I went ahead to hem the line, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching.